Welcome to another episode of your 7 Square podcast, Leadership Tips with Mr. Corey Sigue. How's it going, Corey?
Oh man, we all good today. Weather got a little bit cold again, but making it work. We dropped down into the 50s.
See, yesterday we were in the 60s, almost 70, and then today low 40s. I'm like, what's going on with that? So, that's that pneumonia weather. That's what they call it.
Yeah.
Flu weather, because that temperature raised up and down. You go out there, you got a jacket on, you got a t-shirt on, you end up getting sick. So take care of yourself out there wherever you may be if you suffer from fluctuating weather. So, Corey, I know you have talked to me about a topic today you wanted to bring up that was on your mind, your heart. So let's jump right into it.
Yeah, so I mean, this one's near and dear to me because I think a lot of people, if you really think about a pendulum swinging, a lot of people, it either goes one way or the other way. Ain't no in between. And the topic that came to mind for y'all is, as a leader, should you be a boss or should you be a friend?
Oh, that's
and I think it's very important for people to realize like what the detriment to both sides are. But I can get into it, but I'm curious to get your feedback first before I start waxing in it.
So I think about, Corey, when you say that, I also thought about boss and family relationships, because a lot of people start out, especially new entrepreneurs, they start out with a small company. They got their brother, their cousin, their mama, their auntie doing the work. And that's that familial relationship. And you also at times bring in friends. And I had a guest on one time, Philip. He was talking about one of his first key hires was a friend. And then things didn't quite work out, lost the friendship. So to me, I think that is very difficult when you're a boss to still be a friend, because things get personal. It's not black and white. It's not, hey, I'm just the boss, you're just the employee, you're doing the work, I'm the leader, you're the worker. It's well, I thought I was your friend. Why are you talking to me this way? Or why don't you give me more slack? So I think that you should always be a leader first. If you can develop a relationship, it can be professional. It does not have to be a friendship, because I don't think that you got to be some real good friends. I'm talking about you got to be able to, I don't know. It's very few people out there that can be friendly, have a deep relationship or friendship, and still keep that boundary, because that's what you have to have. It has to be a point to where I take off my friend hat and I put on my leader hat, and it's communicative effectively and not hurting anybody's feelings. So my thoughts on it, Corey, it's great. It sounds good. I work with my boss, he's my friend. We grew up together, but you really got to have clear boundaries set in order to do that effectively.
Yeah, and that's pretty much we're on the same page with that. I mean, just to kind of pose it, like as far as my thoughts go, I think so. I talked about that pendulum, right? Swinging. I think somewhere you got to swing somewhere in the middle. And the reason I say that is because honestly, whether you hire friends, whether you hire family, whether you hire strangers off the street, it doesn't matter what that may be. You have to set the boundaries like you talked about. And it's almost like if you had, like, I want y'all to take a sheet of paper, and in the middle of that sheet of paper, write boss on one side and then write friend on the other side, and draw a line straight down the middle. And just right before, on that left-hand side where that boss is, or whatever side you wrote boss on, I want you to draw X. Just right on that side. And that's where you got to operate. Because if you go too much boss, people go, oh man, he's not going to talk to me like that. She's not going to talk to me like that. This person doesn't care about me. This person they're not invested in me. So you swing too much to boss. Or if you swing too much for friend, and then all of a sudden you got to hold somebody accountable, and they're like, oh man, I'm good for it. That's that bit friend. I'm good for that. I don't, because you ain't been doing it. And that's where you kind of have to watch, like not going into the friend side of things, because I've seen a lot of leaders fail at this because they become friends, and it's like, man, this is the person I would hang out with. I'm going to get drinks with them. I'm going to do all these things with them. And they blur that boundary to where now it's time to hold you accountable. And it's like, oh man, I'm good for it. I don't. Right. And it's time for me to hold you accountable and say, hey, this wasn't done. Or maybe good job, this was done. Right. So because you can hold people accountable two different ways. But I just think that you have to draw a line in the sand and say, this is where I operate. Personally, for me, We can be friends. We can be cool. But at a certain point, it's time to lay the law down.
Oh,
If
that
it's not being done, it has to be taken care of, right? And to a certain extent, you talked about the really good leaders. A really good leader can get into that space where, yes, we are friends, right? And no, maybe I'm not going out with drinks for you. I'm not going to your family's house to get dinner and all that other stuff. But when I say, or I use the big voice as I call it, ooh, he's serious about this, because he doesn't typically do that, right? So now I, as the employee, as the associate, whatever, I got to listen to this man and say, okay, cool. Well, if he's acting this way, it must be serious.
mm-hmm.
And that's the point where you got to get to. So don't lose your accountability by going so much of a friend, but also don't swing to boss side and you lose the human side of things, and people no longer want to work for you because they're not bought in. I just think that people, I would say, typically they swing to one of each side, and then they say, well, why am I failing, Tyrus?
Right.
And it's like, well, you too much of one or the other. I need you to be a human being, because all the time, and I love this quote. I can't remember. I wouldn't say it's a quote, but it was a phrase that she used. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a TEDx or something. The lady said, sometimes in family, because you brought that up, right? There's love. But she said, sometimes in family, real love is tough love.
True.
You got to be able to give that to them. So that's kind of where I'm at on it, man. You got to be able to swing those two sides to it.
I got you. So when I'm thinking about it also, Corey, I'm like, why even why do managers fall into the trap of being overly friendly? And I think it's because, and you can speak from your experience, we have a culture now that wants to be more relational. Not just don't just tell me what to do every day. Ask me how my day was going. Ask me how I'm doing. And again, you have to be able to swing the pendulum, stay in the between by being caring, considerate, have empathy, have some emotional intelligence versus, well, I'm just going to go all the way to the far right and I'm going to be your best friend on the job. Because now, when you don't hold those individuals accountable and somebody's holding you accountable, the question becomes now, why aren't they doing the job? Oh, because I got a little too friendly with them. And so, thinking about the workspace, why do you think some leaders have so much trouble just establishing the boundary? Okay, it's cool to be a friendly person at work. That's fine. But you're taking it overboard with what you're doing.
Yeah, I think to be honest with you, I think if you swing to either side too extreme, it's the path of least resistance. And what I mean by that is, like, let's just go on the friend side. I can become friendly. I can be your buddy. We're best friends. We're all that, and I don't have to a certain extent now hold you accountable to anything because we're cool. And I hope that you do right by me because we're friends. And I hope maybe you just do the right things because we're cool and you don't want to let me down, right? Which is, I guess, okay, but you're never gonna get the result that you need by just hoping that somebody's going to do right by you. I've hoped a lot that a lot of people did right by me, and I'm tell you, I've stopped falling into that trap of hoping that people just do right by me. I will tell you that 9 times out of 10 that's not going to work. Even on the flip side, when you think about boss, if you go in and you're like just the commander and you're like, what I say goes, and I'm that old school football coach, like when I tell you to do it, this is when you do it. By this time, I don't want to hear anything. Then you blow the whistle, right? um, that's also the path to least resistance because I never created a bond with you. So I don't feel bad holding you accountable. So I don't feel bad telling you what you did wrong. And I don't feel bad telling you what you need to do going forward. And now my emotions are taken out of it. You gotta build a certain level of emotional intelligence to be able to do both. And I'm telling you this because I love you. And I'm telling you this because I'm developing you. And we are cool. And I want to see you succeed. But at the same time, I want to get to know you because I know that's what you want, because I know that's how people buy in. And I know as creatures, we're social beings. So they want to know a little bit about you. So I definitely think when people take one of the two, it's the path to least resistance. And I don't have to justify, because I've always been this person. I don't have to justify why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Oh, that's really good. So, as we come up on our 10 minutes, we want to get you in, we want to get you out. The thought of the day is, are you balanced? Are you swinging your pendulum and staying kind of in the center with being that leader, that boss, that employer versus being that friend, and developing a higher enough level of emotional intelligence to know the difference and where you are in that balance? And I would think, Corey, the last piece to that is effective communication. Just saying, hey, look, here's our time. We go into happy hour. That's cool. We're hanging out. We have that downtime. Let your hair down. But when we on the job, here's what's required. And there's no love lost on the friend level. But in order for all of us to succeed, this is what's got to be done. And I think adding in that effective communication, that being very clear about the boundary lines, will help eliminate those hurt feelings between, well, why are you talking about me like this today? Or why are you talking to me rough? Or why you own me about getting the job done? Well, there are boundaries. And so, Corey, you have anything to wrap up with before we get out of here?
No, I think you said it. I think you said it best there. Like, just draw the line, draw your boundaries, and effective communication is the best thing that you can do to get over that hump.
I love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed this leadership tip for the day from the 7 Square podcast. My man Corey always brings the hot topics to keep the leadership moving and keep you growing as a leader. So be on the lookout for our next episode when we drop. We'll be right back with you, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.